What these so-called evangelicals have done is nothing short of theological malpractice. With pornographic sums of money from corporate backers, they have hijacked the gospel and used it to justify what the Bible calls sin. I'm not surprised when I meet people who tell me they're agnostic. When I was a guest on the talk show of one of America's most famous atheists, I told Bill Maher that if you're talking about a God who hates the poor, immigrants, and homosexuals, I'm an atheist too. I don't know that God, and I definitely don't believe in him. But I am an evangelical because, as my grandma used to say, I know Jesus for myself. Between my mother and father's family histories, I count more than 800 years of preaching Jesus in my lineage. In his first sermon, not his second or third, but his very first sermon, Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor." Luke chapter 4, verse 18. This is normative preaching in the Christian tradition. The good news Jesus proclaims is evangelion in the Greek, the root of our word evangelical. And it is, from the very beginning of his ministry, good news to the poor. I don't know a gospel that doesn't challenge the injustice of poverty. Biblically speaking, to be evangelical is to be concerned about the poor. The Greek word Jesus uses in Luke's gospel, tokas, refers to those who have been made poor by unjust systems. To be an evangelical is to be committed to challenging injustice and economic exploitation. It is the very opposite of the message preached by so many so-called evangelicals today. So, what happened to Christianity in America? This is the question my brother Jonathan faces head-on in this book. He follows this question to the heart of America's original sin and invites all of us to join him there and face another question. Is our God greater than America's racism? This is a question we must answer, no matter the color of our skin. Slaveholder religion has infected every corner of the church in America, including the black church. We must never forget that there were enslaved people who accepted the theology fed to them on plantations. The original sin of racism in America began with a deeply flawed and demonic notion that shaped this nation's development. Bad science claimed that black bodies were biologically deficient, then extrapolated a sick sociology that assumed that people of color had to be placed in subordinate positions. Evil economics perpetuated the lie that money and profit are the chief ends of human existence, and these ends justified almost any means. Slaveholder religion blessed all of this with a heretical ontology, asserting that God ordained racism, slavery, and systems of subjugation. The cumulative effect of this lie threatens not only the witness of Christianity in the world, but also our existence as creatures on God's good earth. Because America's self-deception is so closely tied to the incomprehensible power of weapons that can destroy the world a dozen times over, the immorality of slaveholder religion presents a very real threat to our future. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. saw clearly in the last years of his life, we face a real choice between chaos and community. We need a moral revolution. If that was true 50 years ago, then we must be clear today. America needs a moral revival to bring about beloved community. The main obstacle to beloved community continues to be the fear that people in power have used for generations to divide and conquer God's children who are, whatever our differences, all in the same boat. I will confess, I inherited those fears too. When I met Jonathan 20 years ago, I didn't want to work with white evangelicals in rural North Carolina. People who looked and talked like him burned a cross in my uncle's yard when I was still a boy. We don't erase the memories we each carry in our body when we come to follow Jesus. But the Jesus I know can make the children of slaves and the children of slaveholders into friends who link arms and work together for justice. This is the story of God's movement in every generation. It's also an experience I've known for myself over 2 decades of friendship with Jonathan.